Um, well, welcome everyone. Tonight we're going to be talking taxes, everybody's favorite subject. Um, this is a great opportunity for us tonight, though, because we have representatives from our local VITA, that's Volunteer Income Tax Assistance um, Program, on hand to sort of give us instructions for how to make VITA appointments and how you can submit documents. And um, I think they'll probably provide a description of their virtual consultation services and the tax preparation services they can assist with. And I expect we'll also hear how you access TaxSlayer so that you can do your own non-resident return, um, either on your own or in consultation with a VITA volunteer. So, oh, and then I guess we'll also hear about options for e-filing. So tonight, Bonnie Weber is joining us. She is our local VITA coordinator. And I'll just let her take it from here and correct me if I sort of introduced anything incorrectly. And we will try to take questions through the chat. And I think probably we'll hold questions till the end because I'm hoping that Bonnie will be able to cover a lot of your questions as she presents. So Bonnie, do you want to take it from here?
Yes. Let's start with, hopefully I can share a screen, which is always fun. Okay, so what we can offer as VITA is e-filing for 1040 NRs. The 1040 NREZ has been eliminated. So if that's what you used to use to do taxes, that form no longer exists. We have the facilitated self-assistance with a whole set of instructions, a whole book, which takes you step by step through do-it-yourself taxes. All of our offerings allow e-filing. Part of the reason for that is the last time the IRS reported, they were 9 million tax files behind. So if you paper file, you are likely to be waiting about a year or more to get back information from the IRS. The other thing that's kind of unique about this season is Congress, as usual, changed the tax rules on December 27th. It is going to be sometime March, late March, before they will accept the e-files. We will have them all made and ready to go. Then we'll submit them, or you'll submit them if you want to do it yourself. And you can get a letter that proves that the IRS accepted your e-file and you're good with the IRS. Paper filing is going to be difficult this year for everyone, not just non-resident, it's for everyone. The main issues on doing a tax return yourself, and this also applies when you're doing Glacier, is your 1042Ss. You have to know your tax treaties. You have to make sure that you're looking at the right rules for residency. And that depends on your history and on what your immigration status is, and then how you handle capital gains. One of the issues that doesn't come up too often, but there are a couple things we cannot do. If you're doing day trading, we can't help you. Day trading requires a professional preparer. It's relatively complex and it's out of our scope. The other thing that's out of our scope is if you're dealing in cryptocurrency for the US. Now, what you do in your home country is not part of your tax here. But if you have cryptocurrency information and other handling it in the US, that's out of scope. Then you go to an expensive paid preparer, because cryptocurrency, the IRS is just beginning to get comfortable with. What we have, and I'm going to trade screens if I can make this happen, is Okay, now let's see if it'll share.
Listening to something.
Let's see. Where is my share?
If you go,
There it is.
just close your door.
I lose it all the
later.
time. Okay, so we have the same website we had last year, and we also have a sign up. Now, what the sign up gives you is access to a preparer and access to the forms. And once you access, when you go to speak to a preparer, they can give you the website for the do-it-yourself, fully functional professional tax program in TaxSlayer. So if you, and I'm not quite sure, Paul will let me know how to make sure that you get access to how to get to this sign up. It's in Sign Up Genius. It's got your forms in it. And then you can always do a sign up and get a preparer to get back with you. It's important that you have, when you're available, when you go to sign up, to talk to a preparer, because we'll match you with whomever is also available at the same time. The IRS, as usual, has lots of forms and lots of signatures. So I'm going to give you a chance. And here I go again, trying to find, I can stop my share. We'll start the new share, and I will show you what and my share disappeared again. That's such fun. Okay, this is the do-it-yourself version of TaxSlayer. It is the fully functional tax program. It isn't not fully functional. This will go beyond just what we do, because it's the same thing a professional tax paid preparer would use. Okay, we have two guides, one for India and one for everybody else. That's just the way it was set up. But the guide goes through and tells you exactly what to do at each step. You create your account, tells you what can go wrong. You don't have to, and we will not let you pay with your refund, but it allows you to access your tax return anywhere in the world for 3 years. So you have full access to all of your stuff. They tell you what you don't fill in, what you do, so that you can go through and have no problems actually creating your tax return. The program is, and this is the PR that goes with it, but it's no filing fees for anything that's in it, no income limitations, no age limitations, all the states. So that if you're in multiple states, you can prepare in here. And it does the NRs, and it does it to e-file. You don't have to e-file it, but it's a strongly suggested, because this year is relatively unique. Now, when you're ready to do taxes and you want us to assist you, you go to Sign Up Genius, you pick your forms, you get them signed, you send us back the signature pages, and then we will Zoom or whatever program so that we can see and confirm you are who you are, because ID theft is a big issue nowadays. What you will get, and this is what will happen during the prep until we're allowed to actually, and I've lost my sharing again. It comes and goes very well for me. This is what the IRS has done for people who are preparing their taxes before everything is ready. This is it. We make dummy tax returns. This is what the 1040 NR for this year looks like. It has places for your wage, all the normal income. It has some special things that are unique to COVID. It appears that non-residents have some COVID benefits. So we'll have that for you if we're helping you with your taxes. We'll also, if you request, and we have the proper signatures, we can go over your Glacier tax return also, if that's your preferred way of doing it. But you'll notice on the page 2, the IRS has set up the page 2 so it cannot be created because the tax law is not in all the programs. I don't know how Glacier is doing this, but tax programs are not authorized at this point by the IRS. They have to be certified, and the IRS is not ready to certify them. So you may find the Glacier also is not printable yet because the calculations aren't done yet. But that doesn't mean we can't tell you what your tax bill will be. It doesn't mean we can't tell you how much to send in with an extension, if that's the way it needs to be done. So even though everything is not set, a lot can be done and you can be ready to submit it. I guess now is the time to ask generic questions. So let's see what the chat has in it. Chat. Okay. If you are a resident and you want us to help with your return, that's fine. We have client signups for residents, and we also have residents. We also have preparers who could do resident returns with tax treaties if that's something that needs to be done. Keep in mind, resident returns are still not able to be processed, and they're projecting middle of February for that.
Bonnie, I have a question. If I can
Ask away.
Throw one out. So TaxSlayer, does it do the residency calculation up front?
No. Partially because there's more to a resident calculation than what is easily programmed. There are questions that are not necessarily generic to everyone, like were you here as an F2 with your parent? If you have a simple residency, you only came in to start school, and you've been here through your undergraduate and your master's program, and now in your PhD program, and you're in year 5 or year 6, that's an easy resident. What isn't easy is, well, I was here and then I went back, and I was here again and I went back, and I'm an OPT, so there are questions that aren't easy to answer. TaxSlayer has chosen to let an interview with an actual person determine residency and non-residency. 90% of the students are non-residents.
I will just throw out there that the university is providing access to Glacier Tax Prep again this year, and that does start with a residency calculation. So if a person is not sure if they should be filing as a resident or non-resident, it will take you through a series of questions. I don't know how they do it based on what you just said, but it does a residency calculation. And then, it seems like to me that a person, if they wanted to e-file, could just use Glacier Tax Prep just for the residency calculation and then jump over to TaxSlayer if they want to e-file.
Definitely, but one of our people will still talk to them about the residency status, just to make sure that everything was covered.
Okay.
There have been instances when people were sure they were residents and they were in their second year of an F1 status.
Oh, gee.
And obviously they misunderstood what to put in Glacier.
And I'll address one other thing that you mentioned. You had talked about Glacier Tax Prep as whether the form or whether it would allow you to generate a form yet. Right now, Arctic International is saying that Glacier Tax Prep will not be available until at least February 12th. So you can't even get into the system yet.
And it won't be, if you're non-resident, they can't do it before the middle to late March. Residents may be available February 12th. And the reason I'm kind of fuzzy on that is because the IRS can't tell you for sure whether they're going to be available, because they're programming. Once the IRS programs, then all the tax programs that are out there that do the taxes have to be recertified. So they're getting their certification for resident first. And then once they know that's working with all of the changes in the tax law, they will worry about certifying non-residents. The advantage of having a program, even if it's not final, because we do have the programs, and I actually today received the TaxSlayer program. You can do the entire return. You can kind of print it out, just like that's the reason I showed you what it looked like on a printout. Is it's not available for you to mail in, but it tells you what you owe. And it also allows what the day they let e-filing happen, at least in our group, everything will be e-filed. We have to reprocess everyone that day to make sure the program didn't change for their particular return. And we will send it in the day we're allowed to. And everyone already has their beginning. Before we can submit it, we will check and make sure that the numbers that you have are the same as what the new program verifies.
Okay.
And then we'll e-file you, and then we'll get your acceptance letter. Previous years, we haven't sent out the proof of acceptance letters. We are going to do that this year because we anticipate most people will have their taxes completely done and sitting waiting in this bin. And then as soon as the acceptances come out, we have a program that creates letters, and we will email the letters back from them. Part of signing up is we need phone number and email, and when you're available, because it's silly to just play phone tag. So we will have your email to send it to you.
Bonnie, one of the questions is, what is the link to the website to sign up? Is that just the website they were just showing us a moment ago?
Okay, here, right here. Let's see. Now I have to change sharing again. Sorry. Someday I'll be decent at this, but not likely soon. Okay. Okay. On the spreadsheet, I have the site. Now, Paul, if there's some way for me to give you a flyer with that information on it, that might be useful.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll
we can
try to
provide
type
that
it into the chat, Paul. I'll try to type it into the chat for everyone.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
And I think it would be a good idea, Bonnie, to still send it so that we have it available for people that are not listening and seeing the presentation tonight.
The other thing that we're going to have, hopefully, they promised that we will have the do-it-yourself link by Friday. We got the program link for us to use if we're going to prepare it for a client. They promised I would have the do-it-yourself link by Friday. So I'd like to have that before I send the Sign Up Genius to you. But we will get that too. The other thing that I'd like to have is a way of everyone getting the cute little do-it-yourself booklet. It's a lot of pages because it goes through, it's an interview-based program. So the do-it-yourself guide goes through every entry you need to put in and tells you which ones not to put in. And so even doing it yourself, and then ideally you sign up and we go through it with you to make sure nothing got missed and it looks good. That you can actually e-file yourself when e-filing's allowed. But I'd like you to have the link. We cannot, there's a big rule against posting the link for the do-it-yourself. The do-it-yourself has got to be transferred person to person, not via some link somewhere. Sign Up Genius can be linked anywhere. But when I get the website for the do-it-yourself, that one will have to be shared on a one-to-one basis. Either go to Sign Up Genius and ask for the link and we can send it to you. Or I don't know, Paul, is there a way to have that at the office, but not public?
Oh, for sure. We can distribute directly to folks.
Right.
However, you
yeah,
direct us to.
it's because it's the professional program. And if you were a tax professional, you'd be paying $200 or something per tax return. It's not distributed except person to person. But I will hopefully have that link before Friday, but they promised I'd have it by end of day on Friday. But we do have the regular program already. Other questions?
I see a question that says, is this relevant for non-residents who did not receive U.S. source income last year? Can we still sign up for help?
You can sign up for help. What you need to do is you still have to fill out a form, but that form you actually have to mail in. So for someone who's just here and has no income, and that means you didn't do any tutoring, you didn't have any scholarships that helped pay your tuition except from third-party out-of-the-country money. Yes, just go ahead and sign up on Sign Up Genius, and you should be able to put some notes in there. So your specific information, so that we assign that the preparer who talks to you is well prepared for that particular question. But of course we can help. It's a form everyone fills out, but the people who e-file and have a tax return fill it out and send it in electronically, so they don't have to worry about it getting lost in however many thousand tax returns are sitting somewhere in an office. So, but of course, we can help even if you don't have taxes. Oh, this might go really fast.
There's a question about ITINs.
Oh, ITINs are an
Yeah.
issue. Okay, so if you're at the school has gotten you a number. The relatives that are and this has been in the forms, and this is a big question. An ITIN is a way of reporting tax information. It is just an identifier for taxes. If there is no tax benefit, the IRS, according to the forms, has taken the position that they don't create an ITIN for someone unless there is a tax benefit. When they dropped the personal exemption, most people had no advantage for a family member who was not making any kind of money. So we don't have an acceptance agent. The school, I believe, has one, so they can take the forms in. The problem is, according to the forms, the IRS is rejecting them out of hand unless they're tied to a tax event. So resident aliens, of course, there are tax events because they can take child tax credit. That there are things in a resident return that will allow them to take advantage of having dependents and that type of thing. Right now, as a non-resident in general, and every situation can be specific, there is no tax benefit for dependents. Kathy, can I get you to talk on this?
Sure. I think that most cases where we see people wanting ITINs and where we recommend them is in fact when they are non-residents from immigration standpoint, but have been in the country long enough to become residents from a tax standpoint. When that's the case, they need ITINs for their family members, and it appears that the university can assist you in getting those. And so it is important to get an ITIN, and the IRS will give you an ITIN if in fact you're going to be filing a resident tax return, because then you can do things like filing married, filing joint, which has usually a big benefit. So I don't recall ever seeing anyone wanting or needing an ITIN who was not filing a resident tax return. So if that's your case, where you're going to file a resident tax return, absolutely you want an ITIN, absolutely you want to get one from CSU apparently, or at least they can provide the certification so that you can get it. And that means that you don't have to mail in original documents like passports and birth certificates.
Okay, so I have another question about that. And I think Bonnie said that in order to get the ITIN, it has to be tied to a tax event. So does that mean that once that person, maybe it's the first time they're filing a resident return, does that the application for the ITIN, does it have to be filed with the return in order to be tied to a tax event?
It does not have to be filed with the tax return. It can precede the tax return. But the way it's operated in the past, if we have sent people to Denver to the IRS location that will accept both their ITIN application and their tax return together. If you don't do it that way, I don't know with CSU how it works, but you can get an ITIN by itself and then file your tax return once you have it. Or you can mail the two together, which we're not encouraging mailing in tax returns this year, but you can mail in your return with the ITIN application, but it would have to go in with the certification letter if you don't want to send in original documents, which again, I wouldn't recommend sending in your original passport. So the best situation is either to apply for the ITIN by itself prior to filing using CSU's ability to provide the certification of documents, wait for the ITIN number, and then file the tax return. Alternatively, I think you have to go to Denver, to the IRS office. I don't even know if they're processing those right now. I assume they will, but I don't know.
From what I was told, they will process them, but you have to get an appointment and go down for it. And they anticipate you will go down with your tax return.
Right, and that has been historically the way we've done it. That's historically the way everyone has done it, is to go make an appointment in Denver, go with your tax return and your application for the ITIN, which is called the W-7, and your documents and the people, and get both things done at once. However, some people find it difficult to go to Denver because they don't have cars. And so in that case, it's possible to do it through CSU, is my understanding.
From the forums, make sure that if you do it through CSU, you in some way have identified it as you are a resident and these people will be on your tax return. Because ITINs can be refused for no reason at all from the forums, but this way you've covered yourself. It's for an upcoming tax event, if not a tax event right away. And hopefully they have people processing them. It used to be, I guess, people would ask for because with the personal exemption, it was worthwhile for people to get an ITIN for dependents that were in the country. But when they dropped the personal exemption, it was no longer necessary. So that would be during your 5th year, you would be looking for going to CSU to get an ITIN for your dependents. And on your 6th year, you'd actually be using the ITIN that hopefully you received in time.
Can I ask you a question? My name is Tamajit.
Ask away.
Hi. So last year, I submitted my tax return jointly, and I went to the Denver IRS office where I submitted the return as well as the all the other documents, W-7 and the others, to apply for the ITIN for my wife. Now, I've recently found out that the tax return is actually credited to my bank account, but I still didn't have the ITIN letter for my wife from the IRS. So in this situation, I mean, what should I do? Should I call them up and to check whether the ITIN has been processed?
Kathy?
I would say clearly it has been created. Otherwise, they never would have given you your refund. If you got a refund in your bank account, then it was processed. The fact that you didn't get the letter, I don't know any way to find out other than calling them up.
Okay.
You might check on the IRS website if you're registered on the website. It might have that information there.
And I think what Bonnie's talking about there is if you go into the IRS website and in the search box type the word transcript, TRANSCRIPT, then it'll take you through a whole series of screens where you can get a copy of your account record and a copy of your actual tax return as they received it. And you can do all that online. And if you wanted to go through that, then that tax return should contain her ITIN, or the tax account record should show something about the ITIN. So if you don't want to call, because the calling the hold times are pretty long, but you can call 1-800 Is it 888-1040, 1-800?
I don't remember.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up while we're on here. But you can try the transcript process online at the IRS website. And I believe that tax return that you see,
Uh-huh.
if you can work your way through it, should show the ITIN number sitting in her, right on the first page, where you have your social security number, and her ITIN should be in there.
Okay, sure. I'll go and check.
You can try that.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, it's 829-1040. 1-800-829-1040 is the phone number.
Okay, got it.
And it's
Thank you.
difficult to get to a person. You have to always answer all the robot questions as though you have a tax question.
Okay.
And the wait times can be horrendous.
Right now they are, yes.
And I'm sure that will get worse because of all the COVID information.
Okay.
Bonnie,
Any other?
we have a question about filing in multiple states, and I guess I would add, is VITA able to help
Oh, yes.
folks with multiple
Yes.
states? Okay.
It would be probably inefficient and probably very difficult to do that on a do-it-yourself. Multiple states means you have to know how they interact. And that's a little complicated, especially if they have New York, Illinois, California, and a few other states.
Okay, I've got a question about I guess, I don't know if it's a related website, the Make Change No-Co website.
Yes.
I know in prior years, we have referred people to that website as well.
Yes, they can get the same information there. We're just now updating it. It's makechangenoco.org this year. And basically the same information will be available on that website. There's also an email address on that website where they can submit forms for us to do their tax while we're in the middle of doing their taxes. So that's a very good resource. And we're just working on it. It doesn't like the Edge browser, but I gather that's not uncommon.
I guess I'll say that I'm glad that that website is going to be updated and available again this year, because that's, I don't know, that the name of that website's always been very easy to remember. So when I'm talking to people, it's easy to refer people to that site.
Well, and that's actually the basic website for all of this. But things like we can't put up the website for the do-it-yourself taxes. We're not allowed to have it online. So there are some things that can't be put on there. I'm assuming that the clients will be okay with whenever they can get in. If there's any chance that they're not going to be able to get it all together before April 15th and they haven't extended it, we'll do calculations so they know how much they need to send in. If they're getting a refund, it doesn't matter. But if they are going to owe money, they need to send in the money they're going to owe with their extension forms, assuming we have to extend this year. With any luck, they'll push the due date. Any other questions?
This is Kathy again. I noticed there's 2 questions in the chat box, or maybe 3, regarding the stimulus checks. The answer is You must have a social security number and file as a resident to be eligible for the stimulus. If you have social security number and are filing your tax return as a resident, then yes, on your 2020 tax return, which we'll be filing now in 2021, there is a place where it will compute what stimulus you should have gotten, and you will get it. So, as long as you're filing a resident tax return and you're within the income limits and you have a social security number, then yes, you will get that stimulus as part of your refund.
Just make sure that you're eligible for a resident return. We did a lot of corrections last year for people who thought they were residents and weren't. So it's important to make sure you know your residency status.
And again, we're talking about tax residency, not immigration residency. Those are two separate things. Tax residency, if you're an F1, you have to be in the country more than 5 years. Your 6th year, you become a tax resident. If you're on a J visa and a scholar or a teacher, then you have to be here 2 years as a non-resident. The 3rd year, you become a resident.
Are there any other questions?
Bonnie, I'm looking at one in the chat that says, I'm no longer a student. This is a former PhD student. Now I work at CSU with H-1B and been filing through private accountants. Says they charge a lot and I'm willing to pay, but can you recommend one that may have experience with foreigners? And I guess the answer would be there, VITA.
We do have
do resident
some
returns. So.
Yeah, right. That's probably your best bet. And I assume there are no treaties or anything for the H-1B. So it would be a regular resident return. They have a different sign-up site. The site that I have right there, you'll notice, says foreign because that's the site, but we also have the Sign Up Genius. They go to Make Change No Code. They will have, they're just finishing updating the website, and they'll have a link to the Sign Up Genius on the main page that will go to the resident. On the foreign student page, the link will go to the foreign student information. There is a possibility. I'm assuming everyone at CSU has access to a way of either taking a photograph of their tax documents or getting it scanned in so it can be emailed. If not, we do have the possibility they could go over to the site at Senior Center and get their information scanned in. Not everyone has printers available. If you can't do it electronically, we can probably come up with a way of making it work. And they're at the Senior Center in the mornings, 4 days a week. Are we good?
Well, I do see another question that says, I incorrectly received a stimulus check. How shall I
That's the
return
X. We have procedures. Go ahead and email us at VITA for Collins, all lowercase, at gmail.com, and tell them that you need to correct a stimulus payment. The person who monitors that will send it on to me, and I'll have someone deal with it. Either I will, or Kathy, or Kendra, or one of our other people. The second issue on that, if you got a stimulus check, that means that you registered as a resident alien. Does That may mean you need to correct your tax forms for the year that you received the stimulus check. That's what we did a lot of last year, was correcting people who had filed as a resident without realizing. Going to TurboTax is such a disaster for students because it really doesn't ask them if they're residents, it assumes they're residents. And it isn't clear enough, at least from the people that we've dealt with, that they weren't eligible to use TurboTax. TurboTax does not do non-resident forms. So if anyone goes up and does them on TurboTax, they're going to be in trouble if they're not a resident, if they're not in that 6th year. So the best information on that is for them to email us and we'll put them together and we'll get an X out. We can do a correction pretty easily on that. There is a procedure to return a stimulus check, and we have that procedure. Any other questions?
I'm kind of scrolling down. I sort of lost track.
I'm sorry. It's kind of like I want a big sign somewhere on your forms. Do not use TurboTax. Well, I mean,
there's a question that says we're in our 6th year. My husband has a social security number, and I was in F2. Do I still need an ITIN to file as a resident?
Yes. If you're not eligible for a social security number, then you will need an ITIN in order to file as a resident. The alternative is for him to file as a resident, married filing separately, which probably is not as beneficial as if you can both be on the tax return.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I'm looking through. I'm not seeing other questions in the chat. I might just add that Jolene just chatted directly to me. The CSU tax office can assist individuals completing the W-7 form. There is what's called a DSO letter that has to come from international programs. And it's that letter in connection with the W-7 that's my understanding of it is that that's what bypasses having to make the drive down to Denver with your I-10 application. Basically, that letter is saying that we have seen your passport, your immigration documents. Any other questions?
Well, this is Kathy again. I would just say one thing about the W-7. It actually can be filed, now that we can electronically file, well, whatever tax return, it can be attached as a PDF to, I'm reading here from the IRS website, it can be attached to the tax return and sent in along with that certification letter. So this all could be done electronically if CSU provides the certification letter and assist with getting the W-7 forms.
Yeah, that seems like that would be a good solution for many people to avoid having to make the drive.
It also gets the tax return and the I-10 application into the stream right away. So you're more likely to get everything approved and through the system. more quickly.
There is a question, is there an email address for VITA?
Okay, VITA Fort Collins, spelled all out, VITAFORTCOLLINS @gmail.com.
VITAFortCollins@gmail.com.
Yep. And it is monitored every day.
Does that, I guess I should ask, does contact information, including the email address, does that appear on the Make Change No Code website?
Yep.
Excellent.
There's also a dedicated foreign student email address, but that one's not monitored every day. The Fort Collins, the VITA Fort Collins one is monitored every day. And then they'll send over anything that needs to go to the foreign student group.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any other questions. Oh, there's one more just popped up. It says, I was an F1 student for 4 months. I went back to my home country, but came back, and now I've been here for 4 years. So
Okay,
I guess the
This
question,
is Kathy again. The
Yeah.
first, if you're here 1 day in a year, that's considered 1 year. So that 4 months, if it was in whatever year it was in, that's your first year. And then the next 4 years that you came, again, 1 day of the year is a year. So it sounds like you've been here 5 years from the way these are counted. And so it won't be until 2021, I guess, when you'll be in your 6th year and be a resident. But that 4 months counts as 1 year, even though, assuming it was in 1 calendar year. If it spanned 2 calendar years, it's actually counted as 2 years. So 1 day in a year counts as a year. Does that make sense?
yeah, that makes sense. Just a little tricky.
Yes,
That's
it is.
why, yeah.
It's not, years don't mean years. It means were you in the country even 1 day in that year under an F1 or a J1? Yes, that's a year.
Okay.
In terms of counting for residency status for tax.
Okay, folks, last chance. Any
I
last
have
question?
one question.
Sure.
Hi, so I am just trying to get my tax transcript, and it is asking for a customer file number. Do you have any idea what number I have to put there?
I wonder if that's optional. I was doing a transcript today and I saw that and I left it empty because I didn't have one. I think it's that field doesn't have an asterisk next to it that says the required field.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what, if you're seeing what I saw today, then that's the case, but I don't know if you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, now I see the transcript, and I think I should get the ITIN of my wife in that transcript, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, the problem is
And I
the
would not have
first.
known the answer to that yesterday, having never seen that question before today.
Okay. Oh, the problem is the first 5 numbers are X out. It is only showing the last 4 digit.
Well, you know, she has an ITIN.
Yeah. That's pretty much, yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah. then perhaps I need to call them up.
Kathy, well, I don't think they'll give it to you over the phone either, is the problem. Kathy, is there a way to unmask a social security number on a transcript? Maybe? Email VITA for Collins,
Okay.
and I will check with our IRS agent and see if there's a straightforward way to get the rest of those digits. It would have been nice if they sent you the letter.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's my best guess. Kathy, do you have anything that you can add? Kathy?
Uh-oh. Sounds like she's gone.
Yeah, well, she's physically there. Okay. Do you have anything else?
I'm not seeing any other questions.
Okay. The Sign Up Genius is now live. So if people want to go get into it, you have the website for them to go, and they can always send something to vita4collins@gmail.com.